Hello, it's Tom from BlackToad Studio, and here we have 6,000 points of Black Templars for a game today, going sort of apocalypse style because of the large nature of it, obviously. So here's what I have brought. Essentially it is a brigade along with two auxiliary super heavy detachments. So HQs down here, we have a nice wealth of them here. So over here we have a Gravas captain, with two lieutenants as well, primaris lieutenants. To the left here we have a jump pack chaplain, the Emperor's champion, and also a chaplain in Terminator armour. Troop choice wise, we've got quite a few, obviously I had to take 6 here, so we have a Crusader squad here, here, and here, and also 2 more back here. They're all armed pretty much very similar. All the combat ones have a melter in them and sort of power sword or power fist. And the shooty ones back here all have a plasma gun, and one of them does have a plasma cannon to back them up. There is also one intercessor squad hiding back over here. And then we have a couple of other primary units. We've got some Reavers here, and also a squad of Hellblasters at the back over there. And over to the central part here, we have Stern God squad number 1 and number 2 here. Basically they are armed exactly the same, except one has plasmas, one has grav weapons, and they'll be transported in these 2 Razorbacks with las cannons on top. We have a couple more elites here. So we have the Duradio Dreadnought with the ADS missile launcher. Sorry, I said elites, I meant there's also obviously a Leviathan's actually a heavy. So we obviously got the Leviathan there with the 3 hunter killers and the Storm Cannon and a Siege Claw. We also have another heavy choice here, which is a Vindicator Demos with the Laser Destroyer cannon on the front there, and a couple of other heavies back here, 2 Land Raider Crusaders, just to give a bit of transport to certain units. Just over to the right here, we have a couple more elites. So we have an Assault Terminator squad here, so mainly Thunderhammers, but a couple of Lightning Claws in there as well. We also have a 10-man Terminator squad standard with a Cyclone Missile Launcher and Assault Cannon there, 10-man. We also have back here the 3 fast separate choices, which is basically 3 land speeders, all with a assault cannons and multi-melters. We have 1 flyer, which is my assault ram. Just thought I'd chuck that in there. Not sure if I'm going to transport anything in there. We shall see. And then finally the 2 super heavy slots I've got here. We have a Spartan and a Knight Paladin. So that is my 6,000 points. Now let's see what Warr Venom has brought to face this. Okay, and here is Warr Venom's 6,000 points of Nightlords, here to face my Templars today, as you've just seen that list, but here is the Nightlord list. So, we've got quite a few bits and pieces to go on through here, so I'm going to do my best to try and get this all correct. But down here we have some HQs, so I've obviously got a Demon Prince, and a couple of Lords, 3 Lords, yeah, all with obviously wings, or jump packs. These are Warps, this is some Warp Smiths here, is that correct? So that's all the HQ sections there, and then I'm just going to start from left to right, to be honest. So over here at the back, we have some Warp Talons and some Raptors, some more Raptors, and also some more Warp Talons just down here. Got some Corn Berserkers, I presume, so they look very corny. And then obviously we've got a couple of Rhinos at the front here. We also have 2 crawlers here. What was the name? Termite, yeah, termite crawlers. So they're going to be causing some interesting subterranean action. Coming back down the centre, and back here we have a little small squad of Marines, and then we have 3 sets of Havocs. Looks like we've got some auto cannons in there, pretty much, yeah. Yep. Nice. That's a little selection there, and then some quad. I think they're quad mortars. Is that correct? Or quad heavy bolters, pardon me, that's the one. 1 squad of them sitting in there, should be quite nasty. Also have a sneaky squad of Fallen in here in their own little Rhino. Looking, I think, a bit of Boba Fett going on there, so should be interesting to see what they're like. I haven't played against them. We've got 3 Contemptors here, all armed with the Kurz assault cannons, so cruise assault cannons, pardon me. And then just behind them, is that another Marine squad there I see? Yeah, in another Rhino there. We also have a Sicaran at the front here. Obviously I think we've got las cannons and obviously the main gun on top. And just going up to back here, we also have a Khitan and a Knight, all very nicely Nightlorded up. And then further, we also have here 3 Mutilators. And then further over to the right here, we have a Lord of Skulls, ready to cause some death and destruction. Also down we have some Mauler Fiends, one here and one in a very nice bull set up. And I've got some token cultists on the end here, yep. just to fill out some numbers. And you have to remind me what the flyer names are. Hellblades, that's the one. So we've got 3 Hellblades back there, and I think there was a brigade, an air wing, and a supreme command detachment. Is that correct?
Yep, and Vanguard.
And a Vanguard detachment, fine, good. So quite a few command points to get through there. So anyway, it's a fantastic looking army. Looking forward to getting these on the table and having a game. So we'll be back shortly with the setup and deployment. Okay, so welcome back to Warhammer 4 again. Why are we here again? Well, the crows have turned up and are circling the carcass that was the last battle between the Word Bearers and the Black Templars. There's also a couple of high priority targets on this planet that the Nightlords are trying to recover, namely this lord down here, but we'll come to that in a minute. So basically, after the battle with the Word Bearers, the Black Templars' remaining forces have tried to band together here after being quite sorely mauled. Even though it wasn't a loss for them, it was a pretty bad outcome for both armies. They have managed to get themselves into a semblance of order to face an incoming Nightlord fleet, which is just, thought it might come and peck at the remains of the Templars and also collect one of their high priority lords here who somehow managed to get captured on this planet. So yeah, quite a big battle about to kick off here again in the ruined city on Warhammer 4. So basically, as you can see here, we have deployed. Nightlords are on this side. Looking pretty good here, all decked out. And then the Templars are on this side. Just going to come around here so you can see all of the battlefield. So obviously objectives-wise, we have 5 objectives on the board. We have one sitting in here, which is next to the Nightlord Terminator Captain there, or Nightlord Lord, I should say. And over here we have one sitting back in my objective, or my deployment zone, pardon me. And then we have another one that's sitting at the back over here. And then to make it really interesting, we have the 3 in the middle here, one there, and also one a little bit further on this side on the deployment platform here. So the current rules are going to be 1 point for every HQ and Super Heavy destroyed. The central objectives are all going to be worth 1 point each, just to keep that nice and simple. However, the opponent who manages to get their opponent's objective at the back, so in their opposing area, gets 3 points for holding it. So obviously quite a tough task to get their stuff on the other side of the board. Well, it might not be too tough for the Nightlords, as you'll see in a minute with the amount of stuff coming in from reserve as well. But yeah, so that's where you get the most points at the back there. And also we'll be running a line breaker. So just so you can see what reserves are, over here for the Nightlords, here's everything that's in reserve. So over here we have quite a few jump pack units. Moving over here. Also anything on here will be in a vehicle as well, so it may already be on the board, but that's mainly the stuff on the right here. Just run down there. So quite a sizable amount ready to deep strike in and cause some havoc. And then moving over to this side, where my Templars are residing at the moment. Over here on these 2 trays are anything that's in a vehicle or in reserve. So over here, these 3 Crusade squads are in vehicles, and on here we have some deep striking Terminators, deep striking Reavers, and obviously the Stern Guard are currently in there at Razorbacks. So at the moment, I think it's my role to see if we who goes first, and I have +1 because I finished deploying first. So I have a 5 versus a 6, so it's actually a draw because I have +1. So we'll re-roll. 3 to your 2. So I currently going first, unless, of course, we're on. I was a 6 for C's. No. So we're back in a minute with Templars, turn 1. So as we start turn 1 for the Templars, they have barreled forward towards the enemy in certain locations, trying to push an advantage at the beginning. Or, well, we'll see if that pans out in a minute. So the Castus has charged down the lane here, trying to get a good shot on the Lord of Skulls. A bit reminiscent of the game with Dom, I think, actually, from the other game. I think, although I don't think that ended well for the Ram that time. So in the middle here, we had a little bit of movement, not too much, but the Spartan here is just to move forward to start going down this central road here, and likewise on the left here we had a little bit of flanking movement here with the Knight coming down the left hand side with the Crusader just shuffling forward a little bit just to get in range, possibly. That is all the movement though, so now we'll move on to the shooting phase. Okay, so as the Templars end turn 1 shooting, a little bit of a mixed bag, but we did get a few wounds off here. So the Lord of Skulls here is down to 20 wounds now. That was done in conjunction from a few shots from the casters here, and also I think the Dreadnought here, and also the Land Raider. So not too bad going. The one kill we did get was the Spartan firing at its only available target, which was the Dreadnought that was up here. He took 8 las cannons, and obviously we all know how that ended. And then over to this side, a few wounds taken off the Mauler Fiend here, although the shooting over here was pretty abysmal, to be honest. So, but this is only turn 1. I have no charges to declare. However, we'll now move over to Nightlords turn 1. Okay, so as the Nightlords end their movement phase, there's been quite a solid move forward here. On this side of the board, we've had 2 Mauler Fiends advance up this side of the board, heading towards that Knight. And also the opposing Knight here has moved down the centre line here to try and put a bit of threat on various units there. The Khitan has moved down the central line to probably meet the Spartan head on. We'll see who wins that fight. Speaking of winning a fight, over here, the Lord of Skulls isn't actually there. He's currently where that dice is under there, so obviously he's much closer to that Leviathan than it looks right now. I think there might be an ensuing combat phase, possibly, if he survives the fusillade from the cannons. So, the only other thing worth mentioning over here is the Flyers have made a move across the board. They do have an incredible movement range. I think it's 60 inches they can move, but they've just moved up to the centre here to obviously get as many shots in to probably the other Flyer over here, I have a suspicion. So, we'll see what happens in Nightlords turn 1 shooting. Okay, so as the Nightlords finish their first turn of shooting, quite a painful turn for the Templars, sadly. We lost the assault ram here, that's why we've moved up the Lord of Skulls now to sit there, because he can now fit there. During that ensuing explosion, we also lost 2 Terminators, and also another cheeky wound was taken off the Terminators by all the auto guns hiding around here and here. Just almost killed one as well. Would have been very upsetting. The Hellblasters were a victim of a double shot from the Havocs up there after using Endless Cacophony as well. So they got 2 rounds of shooting on it, and they killed all but 1, which is the Sergeant which is left at the moment. Obviously he'll need leadership soon. Moving over to here, we have a Knight that's currently on 18 wounds, and that was due to actually I think all the shots from their Knight. So pretty good shooting really. Also lost a few wounds on this Razorback, and sadly the other Razorback that was down here got popped as well. I think that was from the Butcher Cannons. They were pretty nasty. I haven't actually sort of faced them for a while, and I forgot they are really, really nasty. So it's light vehicles. Other than that, we just had a couple of wounds done on the Demos here. So really, we're going to wait to see what happens in Assault now, see if we can survive the onslaught. Back in a minute. So as the Nightlords end turn 1 combat down here, a very, very painful turn for me. So obviously with the death of the Cast Assault and the Terminators who are down here, and managed to get assaulted by the Khitan from over there on a 12-inch charge, bang on as well, getting the double 6 with a reroll. Also, obviously, the Lord of Skulls went into the Leviathan and the Terminators, and in conjunction, they absolutely butchered them. However, I did interrupt by spending 2 command points before the Khitan got to hit, and I took the Khitan down to 11 wounds. So at least they gave back a little bit before they died. However, still very painful. There was no other combat over here, so we're now going to head on into Templars, turn 2. Okay, so as the Templars come to the end of their turn for movement in turn 2, we have had a lot of stuff get out of vehicles here. So we had this Crusader squad get out and form a screen in front of it from the Lord of Skulls there. Obviously there's a melter in there as well. The land speeder here has jumped up. This squad stayed still, ready to do some shooting. Had to do a little bit of shuffling in the middle here because of the way the Khitan was hiding behind the building. So unfortunately I had to move my Demos here. So he's gone around the corner there to try and get a shot at the Khitan's legs. We also have the Spartan here that's gone around the corner ready to shoot at either one after that's happened, so might get a kill there. The Grav-equipped Stern Guard have moved forward as well. And then finally, the knight has charged towards the enemy knight. Hopefully, you're going to have a little duel there. While the two land speeders here have bravely gone towards the Mauler Fiends to try and hold them up, or at least take a couple of wounds off them. We shall see. I haven't put any of my deep strike or reserves in at the moment, so let's see what happens in the shooting phase. Okay, so as we end turn 2 shooting for Templars, quite a good turn for me, to be honest. We managed to get rid of the Lord of Skulls and the Khitan. However, it did take a hell of a lot of firepower. Basically, everything here you shot. So we had the Spartan, we had obviously the Demos Predator here. We had the squad that was under there with all its plasma. We had even this guy's melter here shot in as well, and also this squad was the one that actually finished off with a plasma round to the last 2 wounds, which was really good. So yeah, they've been gone. However, the Khitan decided to explode and managed to take out 5 from here. No, 6 from here, pardon me. I think it was 2 from here. It took 5 wounds off the Spartan, and unfortunately I think it took 5 wounds off its Lord of Skulls as well. So that was a pretty brutal explosion. Onto this side of the board, we did shoot a lot of firepower into the knight, kind of evening up the wounding here. So we should see a bit of a slugfest here if my knight manages to make into combat, which would be dreadful if it doesn't. So yeah, that's all the shooting. We'll now head on to combat. So as the Templars end turn 2, the knight did his job very well and managed to score 3 hits, and did, obviously that's 3 times 6 damage on that, managing to blow it up. It did actually blow up as well. However, only managed to do 1 wound to my knight, and everything else was out of the range of the explosion of 7 inches. So that was pretty good for me, luckily. So that is the end of turn 2 for Templars. In that turn, I managed to get 3 victory points for killing 3 super heavies. I really can't complain a lot, so we'll see what happens now in turn 2 for the Nightlords. Okay, so as the Nightlords end their movement phase, a lot of stuff has turned up on the board now. So even though they lost those super heavies last turn, there's been a big reinforcement push. So over here we've had some Warp Talons drop in to put a lot of threat into this side of the board. Obviously Overwatch won't be a thing with them. The flyer there also has moved over, along with this Rhino sneaking in here. We had a little bit of movement back here as well with these cultists and the Rhino. No movement here, obviously, as the Havocs are quite happy there, I think. Then we had the crawlers turn up from underground, and this is not looking pretty here. So the Spartan has got quite a lot of opposition heading its way. I think there's quite a few melters down there, and obviously I think the termite things actually have their own kind of attacks as well. So it should be interesting how they pan out. Likewise, another one popped up here and just depositing more units either side, ready to try and get some good assaults off. At the back here, the quad bolters here have just moved up slightly because they were out of range of everything, so trying to get in range, just like the Demon Prince is also moving up there. And then finally over to this side, the Mauler Fiend here has made a move this way just to sort of get them in range of various units over here, along with the fighters providing air support. So that is almost it. So I was back to the end there, but I realised we had some more Raptors down here, and then also finally at the back here some Mauler Fiend, I've forgotten what these are called now. Mauler Fiends. So I dropped in ready to do some damage in the backfield. So that is the end of the movement phase. We'll now head on to psychic and shooting. So, as the Nightlords end their psychic and shooting phases, quite a lot has happened here. As we come across the battlefield, you'll see a few things missing. Mainly the one that annoyed me the most was the Spartan. That took a lot of firepower from various melter sources over there. The tunnelling termites there have got some pretty horrendous weaponry on it when they come out, and also when they're combined with some melter troops there as well. Not pretty for them. Also, the knight is now down to 9 wounds after taking an absolute pasting from the same location as well, but also various other sources have taken it down there. The Crusader here is down to 10 wounds from some melter shots from here, and also some firepower from up above. And also the Derdio here has taken 2 wounds, again from some shooting from here. And then sort of over this side, nothing really happened over there because there wasn't a lot of guns pointed this way, luckily. Oh, sorry, one more thing. The Intercessors down here have taken half their squad, have died to the Havocs from over there. However, the Endless Cacophony went off has managed to not be as effective as the first round of shooting, thank God. So we'll now head on into the fighting phase, and I think there will be a few combats breaking out. Okay, so as turn 2 for the Nightlords ends. Quite a productive and unproductive fight phase for the Nightlords. What they got into combat with worked really well. So over here, the Knight was completely decimated by the Maulafine and the Berserkers. I think the Berserkers got the last hit in the end, with a lot of nasty chain axes embedding in his leg. So that was obviously another point there. Over in the middle here, the Demon Prince charged into the Stern Guard squad, killing them, and then consolidated into the other squad next to them. He did take a couple of wounds for his troubles, but other than that, it worked pretty well. So yeah, the only bad sides of stuff over here was that this squad tried to charge a land speeder and failed. Over here, this squad tried to charge this dreadnought but failed, but also took 3 wounds in exchange. The mutilators back here tried to charge into the Demos Predator here. They lost 1 and didn't make the charge either, sadly. And over here, the Warp Talons didn't make any charges either, which was pretty bad for them. So not really good at getting into combat, but the ones that did seem to do the damage that was required. So that is the end of Nightlords turn 2. We'll now head on to the Templars turn 3. So as the Templars end their movement phase, at the back here we've had the Reaver squad drop in with a jump pack chaplain here. Hopefully going to put a bit of trouble in the back side of the Nightlords here. We had the 2 land speeders jump over here to try and deal with the threats on top of here, but that could be wishful thinking with the amount of firepower up there. I've left the 2 units inside these vehicles at the moment because I didn't want to get them out. Nothing else has moved there. Into the middle, we had the Emperor's Champion work his way around the outside to go towards the Demon Prince there. We had another deep strike of the Terminator squad right in the middle here, because it's looking a little bit weak, especially with the amount of talons in there. So I want to make sure we can deal with them. And finally, the Land Raider there has moved into position to lay down some heavy bolter fire. So that is all the movement. We'll now head on into the shooting phase. Okay, so as turn 3 shooting for the Templars ends, a few things have been taken off the board. It did take a lot of firepower over here to remove the 1 squad of Warp Talons here. That was literally everything here firing in their direction, so pretty resilient. And they also did cast use their stratagem to -1 to hit, which was probably quite good. The Demon Prince took a few pistol shots, but I think he's still only on 6 wounds, so still a fair bit to work through on him. Moving over to this side of the board, this Land Raider opened up to the Raptor squad over here and killed them. Obviously, I mean, there was a lot of bolters to survive. In the middle here, the Demos here shot into the Termite right in the middle there and managed to destroy it, alongside the Las Cannon giving it a hand as well, because it did actually stay alive a little bit longer than I wanted, and too many weapons firing at it. But and then finally, the Berserkers down here took a few casualties from various sources on this side of the board and knocking them down to 2 remaining. So that is all of the shooting. We're now going to head on into the assault phase and see what happens. So as the Templars end turn 3, we had an upside and a downside. In the middle here, the Emperor's Champion provided the upside by killing the Demon Prince with 8 wounds on him. However, on the flip side, at the back of the board over here, the chaplain who made a charge on his own, because the Reavers failed to make their charge, died horribly to a power fist to the face multiple times. So that was basically a one point apiece for that one. So that is the end of the Templars in turn 3. We'll now head over to turn 3 for Nightlords. Okay, so as turn 3 for the Nightlords commences, the movement phase has been completed, and down here, this Rhino and this Rhino have moved forward. One of them has deposited their troops out to here, so obviously they're getting ready to go towards the gun line over there. Moving over to the centre of the board, I think these guys have all moved forward towards the remaining Crusader squad there, and obviously a few HQ choices. The Termite here has shuffled forward and also got repaired, so he's back up to, I think it's 6 wounds now. So yeah, he's back onto his top bracket, which is good, so he can now move at his proper pace. Back here, I think there's a couple of crows circling
the Reaver squad. We'll see how they get on. I don't hold out too much hope. There's 2 Lords there, so that could be quite painful for them. On this side of the board, the land speeders have been boxed in here by sort of some Fallen, some Chaos Marines, and a couple of Rhinos. I think the outlook there is a bit bleak. The Morphiniers charge forward, heading towards the Land Raider here. Obviously, that's a pretty good thing to deal with it. And over here, finally, we've got a couple of the Flyers making their way along the back end of the board. And also these 2 remaining Raptors have gone towards the Derridio, along with some other Raptors that came in on this side. So, quite a lot going on this turn. We'll be back in a minute with Psychic and Shooting for Nightlords. So as the shooting phase for the Nightlords in turn 3 comes to an end, a few things have been whittled down. The Terminator squad down here, I think there was 4 casualties down there, and that was mainly from these nasty little havocs up here, whittling him down. Towards the middle of the table here, after the squad in the middle here got completely decimated by various sources of firepower, it then made the Emperor's Champion the closest unit to quite a few guns. He took, I think, 8 melters to the face in the end. With the Cacophony, Ender's Cacophony firing them twice, and he's alive on 1 wound somehow. So we'll see how long he survives now. Over to this side of the board, we had some Melter Fire come into this Crusader here, taking a couple of wounds off, and also the Razorback took, I think, 4 wounds in the end from I think it was Butcher Cannons in the end. As we move over to here, we have a Land Speeder on 1 wound and another one on 5 wounds, and unfortunately over here the Reavers have took a little bit of a pasting from various sources, and they're about to receive probably a charge in a second. So that is the end of turn 3 Psychic Shooting for the Nightlords. We'll now head on to the fighting phase. Okay, so as turn 3 for the Nightlords comes to an end, the fighting phase has resulted in a lot of casualties for the Templars. Starting in the middle over here with the poor Terminator squad, which now consists of 1 Hammernator and the Chaplain. Didn't go well for them at all. Also, this squad in front of them lost all but 2 men now, so really starting to whittle down. And to no surprise at the back over here, the Lords absolutely ripped apart the Reaver squad, leaving them with 3 men. They lost an additional one during a failed leadership. We also lost 1 land speeder over here to combat, and I think this other one's probably on its way out very shortly. The Morphinier went straight into Land Raider and knocked it down to 2 wounds. So we're going to have to see what we can do about that. And there was a bit of a dead heat, we'll say, back here. Nothing damage on either side, and everyone's all right. And then finally, the Mutilate that was in here died to the Intercessors punching from several levels. So that's all that happened this turn. We'll now move on into turn 4 for the Black Templars. And just so you're aware, we're only doing 5 turns, so keep an eye on the scores and we'll see how we go. So, as the Templars have finished movement over here, we had these 2 squads disengage from their combat so that they can open up some firing solutions for the other units under there. Over to this side, the Emperor's Champion has pulled back slightly because there's just too many guns and melters in front of him, so he doesn't really want to get involved with there just yet. The Derridio moved out of combat and let the Intercessors come here from behind to try and whittle out at least maybe one of those squads there. And obviously the Landsby there has jumped out of combat as well, as best as he could. The Land Raider here, actually, yeah, just before I finish, so he should have moved out of combat. There we go. Has moved out of combat, which is probably only about 303 there. So yeah, he's out of combat as well. So yeah, that's it. We'll now see what happens in the shooting phase. So at the end of Templars turn 4 shooting, what has happened down here is we've managed to wipe out the squads that were nearby here. So the Warped Hands and the normal Marine squad have gone. Over to this side of the board, the Demos here shot into the Termite and managed to take that out, so that is no longer a threat over here. However, the Maul of Fiends still running around, probably going to be quite painful in a minute. I haven't really got a lot to deal with it right now. The Intercessor squad here managed to take out the remaining 2 Raptors from this squad. However, we still have 2 more we need to try and get rid of in the combat phase, possibly. But that is basically all of it. So we'll now head over to the assault phase in turn 4. So at the end of turn 4 for Templars, the assault phase here has ended, and not really brilliant combat over here. We managed to kill one of the raptors down here, so he's free with his melter gun to cause some havoc probably. And then the only other combat, which was all the way over here, was at the back here, and we still have one Reaver left in combat with the Lord. I think the fact they survived 2 turns is reasonably impressive, but we'll see. I don't think it'll be much longer now. So that is all the combat, and that is the end of turn 4. So we're going to head on into turn 4 for Nightlords. So as Nightlords commence turn 4, movement has ended, and down here we've had a bit of the cultists have gone, is there someone in there? They're going to go and check it out possibly in a minute, next turn, if they're brave enough to open the door. Over here we've had a lot of movement down the centre of the board, so the Berserkers have moved towards the characters at the front there, along with their little Havoc squad back up, and also a Demon Prince as well, so looking like there might be a bit of a fight erupting there. One Rhino has come around here obviously to try and get onto the objective. Back here, one of the Lords has jumped up to lend assistance to the aiming of the Dreadnoughts up here. And then obviously this has been wrapped around again, so that's probably going to be in combat by the end of the turn. And I think this Rhino has made an advance this way, just to sort of get towards there, shoot its bolters in a minute. And then finally, I think this Raptor jumped out of combat and is going to probably put a melter up the backside of that Razorback. So we'll see how long that lasts. And obviously the Flyers are all circling here, just trying to probably thin down what's at the back. So that is all the movement. We'll now head on to the psychic and shooting phases. So as the Nightlords turn the screws in turn 4 at the shooting phase, over here the Sicarian shot into the Land Raider, taking it down to 14. There was also a hell of a lot of fire from these lovely Havocs up here, who managed to take out basically a few Marines here, the Terminator down there, and also the rest, pretty much that Marine squad that was under there. It's now pretty much decimated. As we move to this side of the board, all of the Flyers here shot down into the Demos Predator here and managed to take another 3 wounds off it, so that was good. The Raptor here did not do the killing of the Razorback. That was actually done by the Butcher Cannons up here, and then the Butcher Cannons fired into the remaining 4 Marines that got out, but didn't actually manage to kill any of them somehow. Also the Land Speeder lives to fight another fight phase, so see how he gets on in a minute. So yeah, other than that, it was quite a few things died, and obviously another point for killing the Lieutenant in the middle there. We'll now see what happens in the assault phase. Okay, so as Nightlords finish up their turn in turn 4, down here the Land Raider Crusader has been destroyed and the men got out. They did give a reasonably good account for themselves when he consolidating and knocked it down to 3 wounds, which is actually quite impressive considering they literally have chainswords and nothing else. Moving over to the centre here, this is where the stuff started badly going wrong for the Templars. So obviously had a lot of HQs here. The Demon Prince consolidated into the Emperor Champion, killed him, and then the Berserkers here waded into the other lieutenant and killed him. So that's 2 points gone there. Over here, the Rhino had a bit of a plucky charge towards some of the, and only took a wound for his, for his insolence of charging them. Other than that, there's not really much else combat apart from at the back over here, where the final Reaver finally died. And unfortunately, I don't know whether I used them quite correctly. They died horribly at the back here to multiple characters. Anyway, that is the end of turn 4 now. We're going to head into the final turn. So turn 5, Templars coming up. Okay, so at the start of Templars turn 5, my final turn, I'm going to see what I can do to score some points. What we have done here, we have moved the Land Raider here into the middle here, so he's got some good shooting options. We've kind of abandoned over here because I don't think I'm going to be able to get through a Rhino with these guys, so I think that's quite ambitious. So we're going to try and turn our attention to the centre at the moment. Likewise, this squad of Sternguard have moved forward with their plasmas to try and light up either the Demon Prince possibly, because they're now closer to him than any other unit, which is good. I've left these guys in combat because they can probably finish off the Mauler Fiend, and they're not really going to get anywhere if I take them out. And this Derriere has obviously got shooting options available in a minute. So, and also, sorry, the Incest here have moved back. So that is everything I can do in my movement phase. We'll now head on to the shooting phase and see what happens. Okay, so at the end of Templars turn 5 shooting, we managed to pile in quite a few shots. We got rid of the Raptor that was down here. we also shot all the plasmas into the Demon Prince, taking it down to 4 wounds. So hopefully my commander here can take him on at the end, but we shall see shortly. Other than that, there wasn't really much else option-wise to shoot. We shot the Berserkers down here, managed to whittle down to 2. We also shot the Havoc squad that was in the middle here with the Land Raider, and we actually just destroyed it with just the assault cannons in the end, so pretty good. I also did, just in case you wonder where he was, the Chaplain is inside the Land Raider now, just to try and keep him safe for one more turn. So that's the end of my shooting phase. We've got 1 or 2 bits of combat left to do, and we're back in a minute. Okay, so end of the turn 5 for the Templars. We had some more combat over here because it was ongoing. Took 1 wound off the Rhino, nothing happened back in return. In the centre here, there was a bit of a slugfest between the Demon Prince and the Chapter Master here. However, the Chapter Master's down to 1 wound after getting absolutely slapped around really nasty. I mean, obviously the Demon Prince is actually on 2, but we didn't have very good combat ourselves there, so not brilliant. The Mauler Fiend lives to fight another day. Probably tomorrow in a minute, because he just didn't want to take any wounds, so nice doing that. Again over here, everything fought into the Landspeeder. The Landspeeder is still alive, so nothing's happened there. So that's pretty much it for the combat phase. We'll now head on into turn 5 for the Nightlords. So as the Nightlords enter the end of the turn 5 movement phase, over here we've had this Rhino power on into the centre here just to try and get into some more options to shooting. Before it did that though, the squad got out, so the Fallen are looking to get a couple of scalps from the Templars. There wasn't really much else that moved other than stuff over this side, a little Rhino movement to get on top of the objective there, and this Rhino came out of combat, and of course the Flyers that had to move, they've all shot back up this way. I think they've done almost a complete loop of the board now, so they're getting their way around. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. So we'll now move on to the psychic and shooting phases. So at the end of turn 5 for the Nightlords shooting phase, mainly a lot of thinning out of squads because nothing really died, to be honest. So over here, the Predator was down to 2 wounds now after taking some shots from the Flyers. The Land Raider's down to 6 wounds now after taking quite a few hits from Havocs and anything else that could actually shoot at it. This squad down here is pretty much all but wiped out from basically Bolter Fire and also the Flyers there. Obviously the Sicarian helped with the Land Raider at the same time. I think the quad was also shot at the Land Raider. So that's the shooting phase done. We're going to head on to the last fight phase now. Let's see what happens during combat. Okay, so at the end of turn 5 for the Nightlords, down here in the centre during this combat, unfortunately, the captain got absolutely well obliterated by taking almost probably, I think it was 6-7 wounds in the end overall. Over here, the Fallen charged in and managed to pretty much thin out this squad entirely, which wasn't good for them, so they're probably finished there. There was no other real combats that did anything, so that's basically the end of the game. So we'll be back in a minute with what the scores were and how the game went. Okay, so we just added up all the scores, and unfortunately for the Templars, they scored 6 and the Nightlords scored 13. And that was basically due to them holding 4 of the objectives at the back there, so 1, 2, 3 and then 1 at the back over there as well, and myself only holding 1, and then obviously with their HQ kills on top of that, it really tipped the game in their balance. Obviously I did reasonably well at the beginning, I think, by getting all the super heavies off the board very quickly, but that equally happened to me as well, and then my HQ started dropping like flies. So anyway, first of all, thanks for coming down, Warr. It's been good to have you down. I presume you've got a couple of models you might want to mention from this game that you enjoyed using, so...
Butcher cannons,
yeah,
and quad heavy bolts.
Yeah, but I think they both dealt out quite a lot of punishment over the course of the game, actually, I must admit, especially those butcher cannons. They're really, really good. So I think for my Nightlords, I might be grabbing a couple of them myself. So and for myself, I think the Demos here, the Predator, it just seemed to really push out lots of good 6-up damages, and I think that's what's probably responsible for a lot of the super heavy death, I think, overall, because sort of dishing out 12 wounds on one shot or 2 shots is pretty devastating for any army. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed watching the game. So this is Tom from BlackToad Studio, and we'll see you again soon.